At this point of time, the biggest problem is the Food Security Act. Though we are trying to provide food security to the masses, it will involve a huge fiscal cost. And that is a major concern, that should we go for the Food Security Act. The other thing is that for a number of years, since 1964, we have the Food Corporation of India. We have a huge network of public distribution system. We have 500,000 fair price shops. But despite that, food is not reaching to all the population the way we want. There are studies and there are surveys done in India that about 2% of the Indian population still doesn't have access to good food or to food at all for all the 365 days. Now that is a matter of concern. There's another related issue. Food security just does not involve food per se, but food security also involves a guarantee for good nutritious diet. That is a very big problem. How do we provide a diet to the masses which is rich in nutrients and micronutrients? Now, as you know, quite a bit of our young children below the age of 5 have high mortality rate, and that is one area of concern. And if there are not proper nutrients in their diet, their absorption capacity gets impacted, and that has to be addressed. So therefore, it's just not providing food that food security involves, it involves providing good nutritious diet to our population. Now that is, if that is not done, it leads to underweight, stunted growth. That has long-term implications for the rest of the life of an individual in terms of productivity, in terms of intelligence. So therefore, there is an immediate thing which is providing food to these 2% of the Indian population which is not able to get the food. And then there is a medium to long-term thing that nutritious diet has to be provided to the young Indians. There is a third related issue, and that is the mothering phenomena. Young women who are mothering, who have just had their child, it's important that their diet is taken into consideration. Rich food, milk, proteins, vegetables, green leafy vegetables are provided. That is also very expensive for some families to afford. That's not happening. So I think the public distribution system and the Food Corporation of India have been doing their work, but there remains much more to be done as far as food security is concerned in India. There is stories and stories of wastage of food grains in India. According to some estimates, 40% of the food grain that is stored in the Food Corporation of India gets wasted. There are different estimates. There are supply chain problems as far as reaching the food from the farmer to the consumer is concerned. Those issues have yet to be identified and rectified. Those are the major concerns and challenges, I would say, to the food security in India. I think the government is doing a very good job. Given the size of the country and given the diversified country that India is, different time zones, different language zones, different income brackets, rural and urban area, the requirements of a large farmer, a medium farmer, a smaller farmer, landless laborers. So India is a very, very diversified country, and 70% of the population lives in the rural areas. 25% of the rural population is below the poverty line. So it's a huge challenge in its own self. I think Indian government has taken over quite a bit of responsibility and delivered. So what has the Indian government delivered? They have been able to provide some food security in terms of a minimum support price to the farmers. So that helps the agriculture sector. But that also has some implications. It changes the cropping pattern. It also, in a way, impacts the dynamic market behavior, because the government is purchasing and procuring a large amount of food grains itself. So that does distort the market. But in general, given the situation that India is in, given the poverty figures, given the development phase that India is, I think it is appropriate that the government did step in and intervene, and I think they have done a good job in as far as delivery of those promises are concerned. There are weaknesses when you're working in a country with the size that India is, and also working in a country where economic growth is low, also working in a country which started with a low base. There are challenges always. One of the challenges is irrigation and agriculture production. Now, why do I say this is a challenge? Even today, a large segment of Indian agriculture is dependent on monsoon. So after 60-70 years of planning that India has been doing, if there is a monsoon failure, crop failure is almost instant. There are droughts which take place all the time, every few years because of the monsoon. We had a drought in 2009-10. Earlier also we had a drought in 2002-03. We had a larger drought in middle 80s. So monsoons have played havoc with Indian agriculture. Given the size of the country, we should have by now huge amount of well laid out irrigation plan. The other thing is equipment. Agricultural equipment is pretty expensive and still not extensively used in the country, and the reasons are that the farmers cannot afford it. Why farmers cannot afford it? For various reasons, but most of the farmers are small land holding farmers. So for them, we should have been able to give them some assistance to buy equipment that would have improved the yield of the crop. Now what has happened is, in India, Green Revolution was introduced in 1969-70 in some parts of India, not all parts of India, and the Green Revolution was a great success. Because it was a great success, the attention has moved away from other states as well as more irrigation projects. So to that extent, I think much more needs to be done in India on agriculture level, on agriculture sector, but in general, I think the government has delivered to a great extent. Much more has to be done. Those are challenges which are always there, need to be addressed. My reading of the Green Revolution is mixed, unlike many other people who have been talking about the success of Green Revolution. Yes, I come from North India, and that is the place where Green Revolution took place. Green Revolution has been successful in raising the income of the people in that area where it was launched. Green Revolution has also been helpful in some food security. We have now a large production of rice and wheat within the country. So it gives us sort of food independence. So those are the positive things. But there are some negative things which have not really been flagged to the international audience, and that is my concern. What are the negative things? What are the implications of Green Revolution? I think the best example is in Punjab. There are studies being done. The water table is depleting rapidly. Between 2004 and 2007, nearly 2 feet of depletion of the water table. The water table has just gone down, sunk. Now what happens when a water table goes down? Firstly, the water is deep and much deeper. You have to set up tube wells, you have to set up your whole irrigation system changes, costs are involved. Because it was experimented in North India and Punjab, there has been excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides. Now when there is excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides, there is soil degradation which takes place. The ecosystem around the soil is totally destroyed. So what has this resulted in? The highest case of cancer is recorded in Punjab within the states in India. Now that's something very, very expensive. Within 25 years that's happened. Kidney failures are taking place in the area. There are studies which have been documented, taking care of all the controls, saying that this can be attributed to excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides. Now, Green Revolution in general is touted as a success. It is going to be extended in northeastern India. I understand it's going to be extended in Africa and other parts of the world. And that the story is that it has been so successful in India and in Punjab, why not we replicate it in rest of the world, in rest of the places where food is scarce or food security is required. My suggestion to those policymakers would be that yes, Green Revolution is good, but then it's not without its flaws. One has to cautiously implement Green Revolution, and to cautiously implement Green Revolution, you have to evaluate Green Revolution in India, and after doing an intensive evaluation, what it does to the cropping pattern over a lifespan of 25 years, what it does to the humans who are there, after that intensive evaluation is done, maybe corrective measures are taken, and only then Green Revolution should be extended to other places and other countries.